Good afternoon. This is Media Center Ukraine, Odessa, and we continue with the briefing dedicated to the vocational training in the Odessa region. Our guest is Taisa Abozina, Deputy Director of the Department of Education and Science of the Odessa Regional Military Administration. Thank you for joining us today. Let's start with the key changes in vocational education in Odessa region and what are the key challenges. And of course, the key challenge is the armed aggression of Russia against Ukraine. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for invitation. And the labor market has always had demand for qualified professionals. After the war, Ukraine will have a serious challenge. This is the reconstruction and recovery of our country. And now our professionals do a lot to restore infrastructure facilities. And this is done by qualified workers. And vocational training is the level of the whole educational systems that is the quickest to respond with all demands of the market. In the Odessa region, we have 27 institutions of professional, vocational, and technical education, state-owned, that provide services for different professions, simple and integrated. Our students can also go through secondary education and to receive not only diploma of a qualified professional or working, and also the certificate about the full secondary education. Despite the four, to ensure quality training of our workers in line with modern challenges and demands, today I would like to share information about the measures taken by the professional, vocational, technical education in the Odessa region. First, we should talk about modernization of the network. And our first task is to create professional, powerful centers to avoid duplication of professions, as it used to be before. To ensure all equipment needed, professionals, and to use financial resources. That's why we create powerful multidisciplinary centers in the Odessa region. This doesn't mean that we are going to close or liquidate the existing vocational institutions. This is about creation of powerful institutions. And as an example, I would like to say that in the north of Odessa region, in Kodyma, Savrань, we have three vocational institutions. They were agrarian, and there they trained operators of tractors, cooks, and other professions. So three institutions provided the same services. What we've done with that, we created powerful multidisciplinary center according to the special area, and thus we are now able to offer the wider spectrum of professions, because the Savrань district is well known for different tourist and other activities. Of course, here we decided to focus on tourism services, and the Savrань branch will be dedicated to that. And in Balta, we have some other focused For example, more tailors can be found there, and now the local educational branch is more focused on tailors. So this is the approach that we have chosen, and we can see the same in Ismail, and also we can see the Danube Center and Odesa Center of Professional Education, and we continue our work like that. The next step is to create professional vocational centers under the auspices of the existing vocational institutions. These, again, will be not new institutions. This is rather the newly created environment where students can use modern equipment to get theoretical and practical knowledge. Odessa Professional Lyceum for Construction and Architecture is the only institution in the Odessa region that trains restorers. And we created the center for that. We provided the up-to-date equipment, and now students can get a profession using the precise skills that they will need during employment. I have a clarification question. So you've mentioned 27 institutions of vocational education that can cover 170 professions. What professions are the most popular? This year, we have the following popular professions, and I would like to say that we prolong enrollment up to the 1st of October, and students graduating from schools or unemployed can enroll into training. What are the most popular professions? Of course, these are maritime professions, cooks, confectioners, tractor operators, and other professions as welding, etc. And of course, hairdressers, manicure, visage, makeup, etc. These are the main, most popular professions. But now, coming back to educational centers, and here I would like to underline, because this is important for our citizens. The educational vocational centers not only provide educational services to children offline after graduation from schools, but these centers will also allow to get training, advanced training. And today I'm going to tell about those people who were forcibly displaced for the commissioned military. We have everything to that. We have the equipment. We can also offer short-term educational programs. Such short-term programs can be focused on specific work or some specific module. For example, construction profession, but a person wants to learn some details. For example, how to deal with the plaster. And we can provide such training in our centers. We have 37 of them now. They were opened using our own budget, state budget, and the funds provided by our partners. We also had, this is also a pilot project which is implemented in the strategy of reforming of nutrition at schools under the auspices of First Lady Olena Zelenska. And we have created, established kind of a culinary hub. We have trained people who will become agents of changes. But they will be also become trainers for other students, for the unemployed population. Now we have only one such hub on the basis of the Odesa Professional Initiative, but with the support of Oleg Kipar, the head of Odesa State Regional Administration, I think that by the end of the year we will be able to open 2 more culinary hubs at the northern and southern educational institutions to provide such educational training. There is the lack of professional educators in this area. In the moment, there are no gaps. But of course, we understand that we take care about crafters. And to educate our children. These are production, masters of industrial training, and we need such people. Do you have a lot of young people? We have them. There is a trend that we can see in our institutions. The graduates of the vocational educational institutions stay with their institutions if they are masters of industrial training. And they can also get the advanced training to get the higher education certificates, and they continue to work in the institutions where they studied. And this is how we renew the staff of institutions. And coming back to statistics, do you have information about how many graduates get employed? Yes, of course, we have such data. This educational year, more than 80% were employed with their profession. Others continued their status in professional pre-higher and higher education institutions. A lot of were called up for the military service, and only 4% applied for help in finding a job at employment services. And since we're discussing now employment and credits, we have analyzed our statistics, and we were surprised to learn that the stereotypes and the general attitude to educational training have changed. Before, we believed that this is popular only among men. But I can make an example. For example, to get a welder profession, to become turner, to become plumbers, we can see that the girls also opt for such training. And what about men? Do they train to get, so to say, female professions? And yes, hairdressers, tailors. It is also now popular among men. This is the most popular profession that's used to believed suitable for girls. For cooks, which is the same for men and women, but it is said that the men are better at cooking. As what about IDP? I would like to thank the managers of vocational educational institutions who quickly respond after the 24th of February last year, when there were problems in the Kherson region. Educational institutions supported us with providing educational services. The children were able to continue their studies despite of the full-scale invasion. We have internally displaced students, but moreover, in our dormitories, they are IDPs residing, so the accommodation was provided by our educational institutions under specific conditions. And these are the key privileges for IDPs. Do you have statistics in numbers? Vocational education was always the type of education having the most subsidies provided to the population. And if we analyze statistics, we have almost 600 orphans educating in our institutions, more than 300 children who have their parents fighting in the armed forces of Ukraine. Also, 7 participants of those who have joined the armed forces of Ukraine. We also have internally displaced children. So we can ensure equal access to our institutions. There are regional or state orders. This means that these services, educational services, are provided free of charge. And vocational education is becoming more popular nowadays. So we can see changes in our mindset, because we compare salaries of plumber and a person with a higher education, then plumbers can earn several times more. Do you have any problems, any programs now for those, for the students of vocational educations to be educated abroad? And now, of course, this is more about women. We don't have any exchange programs, but we have some study visits. But we can organize some practice abroad. And of course, under the martial law, we have certain limitations in terms of sex and age, but our children can have can undergo practice, for example, in canteens abroad. And with the dual education, we have such form in the professional education. We had some delays because of the COVID and the full-scale invasion. I now mean the enterprises that were able to employ our students through the dual education form, when 70% of training is theory and 70% is practice at production facilities. and they also can get work experience there. These allowed our students to stay at the enterprises where they had their practice, and we are pleased that despite the full-scale invasion, despite the economic changes in the country and the changes at the labor market, we continue this program, and we have institutions and professions that offer dual education form. One more question. Has there been any change in applicants with the start of the full-scale invasion? No, actually, no significant changes. There are two types of orders: regional orders and state orders. And when we have regional orders, the services are covered by the local budgets, and we can see the professions which are needed in the region. And they are the national professions. And we hope that the list will be updated at the state level, but we still have such professions. These are like turner, and for example, we can see even increased number of applicants with turners and locksmiths. Thank you very much for joining us today. Perhaps you have some other information that you would like to share with us. First of all, I would like to thank all professionals in our education for continuing their work for the support of the armed forces of Ukraine. And many of our professionals are involved in volunteer activities. And if you allow, I would like to make an announcement. On the 1st of October, we will celebrate the Vocational Educational Day, and I would like to thank all educators for their work, for their love to children. We have the whole family in the Odesa region, and I would like to congratulate everyone and to wish victory. And I would like to thank the heroes of Ukraine, thanks to whom we can be here today at this briefing. I would like to also join your congratulations. Thank you very much for being with us today. That was Taisa Abozina, Deputy Director of the Department of Education and Science of the Odesa Regional Military Administration. We have discussed vocational education in the Odesa region. We will continue at 1 p.m. And we will have Dmytro Platinchuk, the spokesperson to the Naval Forces of Ukraine. You can join us both offline and online.